Ever wonder what a fist fight between two of the greatest minds in history would look like? Well, in ancient Greece, it almost happened. This isn't about gods or monsters. It's a real story about philosophy, politics, and a rivalry that shaped the world. Picture this: Athens, the cradle of democracy. The star of the show is Plato, the famous student of Socrates. After Socrates was tragically forced to take his own life, a heartbroken Plato left Athens, convinced that democracy had failed his mentor. He traveled the world, studying math in Egypt and government in Italy. He was searching for a better way, a system that wouldn't kill its best thinkers. This quest led him to Syracuse, a powerful Greek city-state in Sicily. It was ruled by a fearsome tyrant named Dionysius I. Plato had a bold, some might say crazy idea. He believed that if he could just teach the ruler philosophy, he could turn him into a philosopher king. A wise and just leader who rules not for power, but for the good of the people. This was the central idea of his famous book, The Republic. He wasn't just writing about it. He was going to try and make it happen. So, Plato walks into the court of this powerful tyrant and starts talking about justice, virtue, and the ideal state. At first, Dionysius was intrigued, a famous philosopher from Athens. This could boost his reputation, but as Plato went on, criticizing tyranny and talking about how rulers should serve the people, Dionysius's patience wore thin. He was a man of action, of power and armies, not abstract ideas. The breaking point came when Plato declared that a truly just man is happier than the most powerful tyrant. Dionysius exploded with rage. He accused Plato of talking nonsense and basically told him he was an old, useless academic. Plato, never want to back down, fired back saying the tyrant's life was filled with fear and misery. The argument got so heated that Dionysius, in a fit of fury, almost had Plato executed on the spot. He was talked down by his advisors but decided to get rid of this troublesome philosopher in another way. He sold Plato into slavery. Yes, you heard that, right? Plato, one of history's greatest thinkers, was put on a slave ship. Can you imagine? Luckily, the story doesn't end there. On the slave market, a fellow philosopher from another school of thought recognized him. He was shocked, bought Plato's freedom, and sent him straight back to Athens. You'd think after being sold into slavery, Plato would have learned his lesson, but he didn't. 20 years later, Dionysius I was dead, and his son, Dionysius II, took the throne. Plato saw another chance. He thought the father was a lost cause. But maybe the son is different. Maybe I can mold him into the philosopher king. So, at nearly 60 years old, Plato sailed back to Syracuse. For a while, it actually seemed to work. The young Dionysius was fascinated by Plato's teachings, especially geometry. The entire court was suddenly obsessed with drawing triangles and circles in the sand. It looked like Plato's dream was finally coming true, but politics is a messy business. The most powerful advisor in the court, a man named Dion, who was actually Plato's friend, was seen as a threat. The young tyrant, paranoid and insecure, banished Dion and placed Plato under a very luxurious house arrest in the palace. Once again, Plato was a prisoner. His second attempt had failed, turning from a grand political experiment into a royal soap opera. He eventually managed to talk his way out and returned to Athens, defeated but not broken. He spent the rest of his days focusing on what he did best, teaching and writing. He founded his famous academy, which became the blueprint for the modern university, and it ran for almost 900 years. Plato never succeeded in creating a real-life philosopher king. His adventures in Syracuse show us that even the most brilliant ideas can shatter against the hard realities of human nature and power. But his courage to try to risk his life for his ideals is a powerful story in itself. He proved that philosophy isn't just about sitting and thinking. It's about striving to make the world a better, more just place. What do you think? Was Plato a naive genius or a brave visionary? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this dive into a hidden corner of history, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories you won't find anywhere else. See you next time.